Her son sat in a dilapidated booth across the cracked linoleum floor, surrounded by an open sketchbook and a fortress of sugar dispensers and ketchup bottles. Leah's entire universe revolved around Noah, a 6-year-old boy with a quicksilver mind and a pure storm. His hair was as silky and dark as hers. His eyes, however, told a different tale. They were a sharp, stormy gray that seemed to see too much, a mystery Leah tucked away and never ventured to solve, a color she had never discovered in her own family line. "Look, Mom." Through the evening hum of the diner, Noah's voice echoed like a bell. When he opened the sketchbook, he saw a painstakingly rendered monster truck with wheels larger than the stick-figure driver. Leah grinned, her fatigue momentarily forgotten. "My little artist, that is amazing. Will he win the major race?" With solemn 6-year-old certainty, Noah said, "Of course. He is the strongest." Leah ruffled his hair and whispered, "Just like you." It was a ritual touch, evidence that he was safe and present. Because of Noah, she had learned to cope with the fear that pervaded their peaceful existence like a faint electric hum. Leah's thoughts drifted, dangerous, familiar, to a city she'd abandoned and to the strangers she'd met there as the last of the dinner rush subsided. The Velvet Shadow is a bar that serves secrets, mahogany, and hushed money, all of which are decanted with $100 scotch. Without raising his voice, his presence bent the room as he sat alone every night. Storm gray eyes that didn't miss anything. Before lightning, there was a power that rolled in like a pressure system. They referred to him as Damien. Only Damien. His suit cut made it clear that he was an alpha. Damien didn't move quickly the night a drunk cornered her. He just stood there, a wall where she needed one. The man ran away after one glance from those eyes. His gravel baritone voice seemed to vibrate in her bones as he asked, "Are you okay?" Discussions ensued. She discovered a sharp intelligence and a dry wit beneath the steel. Beside the most dangerous man in the city, she had fallen hard for the illusion of unattainable safety. He was referred to in the papers as the Ghost, the unchallenged leader of the Volkov Syndicate. Then he moved away from her as quickly as he had moved to keep her safe. "This was a mistake," he had stated in that wintry, flat voice. "You are a liability. Leave. No dispute. No justification. An act of tenderness." She departed with a broken heart and, 2 weeks later, a pregnancy test in her trembling hands from a budget motel. Fear was more deeply ingrained than heartache. Until the map ran out, Leah ran. "Little man, are you ready to go home?" Wiping the last table, she asked. With the crayons carefully tucked away, Noah nodded. "Is it possible for us to reread the Explorer's story?" "Obviously," Leah said. "In those tales, a courageous alpha dad walked through perilous, remote areas to defend those unable to defend themselves. She never showed him her face, but his eyes were always storm gray in her mind. The smell of laundry soap and crayons filled their apartment above a closed bakery. Until the front door splintered inward, it was home. The doorway was occupied by 2 silent, effective, and menacing men. "Go, Noah." Leah shoved him in the direction of the bedroom. Swinging with the kind of terror that turns tiny bodies into monsters, she snatched up a cast-iron skillet. The man barely staggered as metal met shoulder. Her wrist was twisted by a second, vice-like grip. The skillet clattered. In the direction of Noah's thin scream, the first man slipped past. "Avoid touching him, please." The night was broken by her entreaty. It was disregarded by the men. Noah, her entire world, was in the arms of a stranger after just one cool, collected scoop. Leah was shoved into the wall. They were swallowed by the corridor. The street was swallowed by a black van. A guttural sound ripped from her on her knees. The police? A joke. What followed was absolute and glacial clarity. Men like these could only be defeated by one force. There was only one man who recognized this darkness. The spirit. Being proud was a luxury. Hatred was a burden she was unable to bear. Noah was all that mattered. It was a journey to hell on the 20-hour bus ride back to Asteria. The skyline rose like teeth rather than as a promise. With less than $200 and a chilly knot in her stomach, she entered the terminal's chaos. Leah knew where shadows gathered, but the syndicate lived in whispers and shadows. They took my son, made Sal, a grizzled beta with a soft spot, the bartender at the Blue Note, a neutral jazz club, freeze. He didn't pose the query. He didn't have to. Quietly, he said, "Go to Odessa. Back entrance. Request Ivan. Inform him that you are here to pay off a previous debt." The Odessa shone, black marble, reverent silence, chrome. A snake tattoo coiled at his throat as a mountain in a suit guarded a steel door. "Ivan." With a firm voice, Leah said, "Tell him I'm here to settle an old debt." A click, a Russian whisper, a lift that rose like a judgment. The penthouse was a night and glass kingdom. With broad shoulders sculpted by 7 years and 1,000 choices, he stood at the window. The cold in Damien's eyes was a climate when he turned. He said, "You have 5 minutes. Justify your decision not to exit via that balcony." Leah muttered, "They took my son. The previous evening." With bored cruelty like a blade, he questioned, "A lover's debt? You want me to clean up your mess?" "He's a kid." She let the word escape her. "He is 6 years old." A single muscle at Damien's jaw feathered, but his face remained motionless. "Why come to me? Since no one else is able to locate him," Leah stated. "The men who did this are known to you. You can communicate with them in their language." Quiet. Then, a command like steel from a sheath in his voice. "Ivan, secure the building. All the men in the street." A black, unmarked van that was last spotted in Northwood 12 hours ago is what we're searching for. The Alpha was awake. The ghost was gone. He looked back at Leah. "You're going to remain here?" "No." Fear fueled determination. "He will be frightened when you find him. I'll be needed by him." A warning-laden pulse of power rolled off him. He whispered, "You don't know what I'm going to do tonight. Remain where I can keep you alive." The night was behind him as he departed. Hours were stretched into wire. The city glistened, unconcerned. Leah discovered a face-down frame in Damien's study. She flipped it over. She was laughing in a park 7 years younger. Had he retained this? The story she had told herself about him developed a tiny crack. He returned at dawn, a weary storm confined to skin. He said, "Scott Browen. He desires leverage." Leah's voice faltered. "Is it possible for him to make you kneel?" Damien declared, "I don't kneel. I destroy cities with fire." The penthouse was converted into a war room. Maps with red markings, names in Low Russian, holographic light shining on blood and power corridors. Damien tapped an estate on the outskirts and said, "He has a compound. Sturdened. We leave at 0200. Leah said, "I'm coming." "No. His mother is me." Even she was surprised by the irony in her voice. "While he's in a monster's home, I won't stay behind." Damien looked, really saw her. "Note pliable." "Steel." He nodded once, grudgingly. "You remain in the car until it's safe." Engines snarled awake in the staging garage, the air heavy with adrenaline and oil. Damien came over to her. "He'll be all right," he said. "You're unaware of that." He replied, "I do." And for the first time, his confidence calmed rather than alarmed. A rhythm. "You should know why I ended it." Ivan displayed old video. A black sedan with a flashing muzzle outside Damien's building. With his body in the line of fire, Damien shoved Leah behind him. His voice was worn as he said, "They had begun to watch you. Leverage was what they sought. I could force you to flee or put you in a cage for all time. I decided to live the way you did." In a single breath, the truth rewrote 7 years. Leah muttered, "You ought to have told me." He remarked, "I was mistaken about your strength. Now I see it." The engines roared. Time was up. A symphony of precise violence characterized the attack on Browen's compound. Gunfire outside like thunder in the distance. Inside, gaudy wealth lines tune quiet corridors. With a heartbeat, Damien moved like a shadow. He discovered a covert door leading to a soundproof room in Browen's office. Tiny bedroom. A pale, tear-streaked little boy on the bed with a beaten stuffed wolf in his arms. Noah. Too old, too knowing, gray eyes. The ghost melted. With his hands up and his voice lowered to a warmth he hadn't used in years, Damien dropped to one knee. It's all right. I promise not to harm you. Who are you? With a quivering lip, Noah inquired. Damien's imagination, an adventurous and distant explorer, flickered through Leah's bedtime stories. His voice thickened with emotion as he said, Your mom sent me. Damien is my name. The explorer is me. I'm home now after a lengthy journey. Astruck. Alpha Dad. Noah muttered. Damien took a deep breath. He gave a nod. Yes, young one. Alpha Dad. He extended his hand. Noah arrived, breathing heavily under the tiny, fierce weight of a life that seemed inevitable. Damien pulled him close. The boy had crayons, laundry soap, and something that belonged to him when he pressed his face against his hair. Damien felt complete for the first time in his life. When Leah saw them outside, her knees gave way. The final steps were run by Noah. Mom! The adventurer arrived. He located me. She pressed her son against her, kissing his cheeks and hair while using her own breath to count. She looked at Damien over Noah's shoulder. They exchanged feelings of shock, thankfulness, and something more profound and unnamed. The city glistened in the glass back at the penthouse. Browen was done. A boy slept with a stuffed wolf under his arm in a guest room that had been transformed into a haven. But the outside world was still dangerous and sharp. Leah took a seat on the bed's edge. The sight of the two important individuals disarmed Damien, the most dangerous man in Asteria, who stood in the doorway. Leah gave the vacant spot next to her a pat. He walked across the room and sat down, keeping a respectful distance. They observed Noah's respiration. Questions that would take time to answer flooded the silence. The future was unknown. The past was a map of scars. For the time being, there was a tenuous calm, and a fact that neither of them fully understood yet. The boy's unmistakably storm-gray eyes were not a coincidence. They were inherited. The city would soon discover what it meant to use a wolf's eyes to threaten a child.